And welcome back, fam bam, to another installment of Metaphysics on Your Mind. First of all, we wanted to give a shout out to, again, to people that are making comments that are really very generous and very kind. And again, even though we don't, or at least as of yet, kind of gotten into the groove of answering everything individually, because we wanted to kind of keep the focus on the material and, not get too much of our personality wrapped up, into it. But of course, there needs to be a balance. And I thought it was interesting that the last video where we were talking about words of wisdom, Proverbs chapter 1, someone made a comment that, they enjoyed it and would like to hear, maybe some sections of the books of Songs of Solomon and Ecclesiastes. So I thought, well, let's do an Ecclesiastes. We're going to actually do Ecclesiastes. See if I can remember how to spell it. Ecclesiastes. Let's do chapter 3. Okay. Because again, we're talking about words of wisdom. The last one, Proverbs, started out with talking about King Solomon. These are words of wisdom uttered, quote unquote, from King Solomon. In Ecclesiastes, there is the title character is known as the preacher. Okay. It's still the son of King David, as King Solomon was. So, we're talking about, in effect, the same personage. For those who may not, be aware, ecclesiastical is relating to the church or the Christian church or to the clergy, to the pastors or whatever. And the book, this particular book is called Ecclesiastes. So again, and this is not to endorse any religion or whatever. It's just, this is background information that in the book of Ecclesiastes, for instance, in Ecclesiastes 1, which we're not going to read, but just verse 1, chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem." So right off the top, we know that, again, you can look at this at different levels. We're not looking at it as a literal event, but King of Jerusalem, we're going to say Jerusalem is speaking about the mind at peace. We said Jerusalem meant city of peace. And the king, remember we said one side, the left side, we're going to say symbolically, the left hemisphere of the brain represents the king. And the right side of the brain, in this context, represents the spiritual, or in this particular one, the preacher. Because we always, we said that the symbolism was that the side of righteousness represented as the right hemisphere of the brain, the creative, the subconscious, that is the realm of righteousness. And the left side of the brain, the rational mind, is of a different nature. Okay, so this is the preacher, symbolically, the wisdom of the right speaking. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We're just going to read chapter 3. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard these words because this has been quoted quite a bit, but I think it bears repeating. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And I'll just jump in, periodically, to pluck up that which is planted is again a reference to reaping what you sow. What you've sown, that's what you're going to reap. That's what you're going to pluck up. Okay? A time to kill and a time to heal. Now, again, I'm just going to keep jumping in here. A time to kill. So is this saying that there's a time when you have to go out and kill, like say maybe kill an animal for food or kill an adversary? Is it talking about it on those levels? Or is it also talking about it on the level of when you say go into meditation? This is an inner interpretation, of course. When you go into meditation and there's a sacrifice, you kill the lamb symbolically. You kill the ego, do we not? So every time that you successfully are able to sacrifice the lamb in meditation, there is a symbolic killing. So there is a time for killing. And then we talked about episodes back, we talked about the shadow, right? And that the shadow needed to be healed. So this is saying that there's a time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down that ego, and a time to build up your relationship with your spiritual dimension or frequency. See, again, this can be taken at multiple levels. Like we said, many of the ancient writings, different levels, different planes of understanding. So you can read it externally that, yeah, there's a time to kill and a time to heal, but it's also talking about at another level, an inner level, okay? A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. So again, this is the wisdom of understanding that there is an ebb and flow to life, right? That everything has a time and a season. There's a flow to it. It's what we're going to get to as we're going to the end of this chapter is an understanding that the reality is we don't control anything. You don't control anything. There is an ebb and flow to things you have no control over. The only thing that you can somewhat control is yourself, right? That's it. You don't have control over the ebb and flow of life. Like a surfer who's riding a wave, what are they trying to do? They don't control the wave. They ride the wave. They balance on the wave. See? That's all that we can do. This is what this is saying. That, hey, this is the ebb and flow. You're not going to control it. You're not going to be able to time it. Okay? All you can do is respond to it. Potentially prepare for the peaks and valleys, right? Let's read on. This is 3 verse 8. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. Now you might kind of like raise an eyebrow and say, what do you mean a time to hate? You know, is it ever good to hate? Again, on the inner meaning is when you hate evil within the mind, right? It doesn't necessarily mean something external, but by extension it could. But it's talking about what goes on within the mind. That there are things that can go on in your mind that you will hate or that you hate, and you move to eradicate, again, which is what meditation is about, right? Ebb and flow. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. Okay? So what profit is there, in effect, is what it's saying, in all the works and in all our labors? Where does it get us? Where does it take us? Right? The travails of life. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. So all of creation is set within the heart, but you will never be able to unravel the beginning and to the end, the Alpha and the Omega. You're a part of it, but you'll never be able to unravel the whole story, okay? But the whole story is actually within you. This is kind of like the irony of life, as well as the ebb and flow, okay? I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it that men should fear before him. Remember, we discussed fear as in respect, okay? For those, who have a relationship or a belief in the Most High, it is the ultimate respect, okay? Let's read on. And also that, we just read that. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past. So in other words, what has been will be. What will be has been. Okay? We talked about the wheel of fortune, the wheel of life, the circle of life. We talked about maybe you don't look at time as being a linear continuum, but you look at it more as a cycle of time, a construct, of course, but a cycle. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. What's that talking about? Where's the place of judgment? Again, we're talking about the works of the inner Jerusalem, or Babylon, if you will, depending upon what's going on in our minds. Okay? So the place of judgment would be where? As symbolized and represented by the left hemisphere of the brain. The rational mind is the place of judgment. And then it also said the place of righteousness. Well, that's the right hemisphere. That is the subconscious and the conscious mind, right? That we operate from. This is saying that there was wickedness in one and iniquity in the other one. So in other words, having not elevated, having not activated our connection to our higher selves, our higher mind, instead, those are places of wickedness and iniquity. See, what's supposed to be the temple, right? The Temple Mount, which is symbolically what this is, the heaved up place, the higher mind, the higher consciousness, there's iniquity and wickedness, right? Because the work hasn't been done. We haven't tended the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Paradise, the Garden of Delight. So we haven't tended to that. So that's what happens. The weeds grow. Let's read on. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. Okay? So man, created on the same day, the sixth day, is the beast. Your body is the beast, right? We'll read on. For that which befalleth the sons of men, and remember we said sons of men is who? Sons of men is the physical, the flesh. Sons of God is the spirit. So you have to watch those semantics. Sons of men, sons of God, two different references. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath. So that a man hath no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all to turn to dust again. Okay? Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward in the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? So to me, what that's also saying is that you have every right, you have every opportunity to enjoy your life, right? We're not here to just suffer, okay, and experience travails. Although what this is saying is that in the end, the physical self is no different than cattle or any other beast, because it's the flesh. And at some point, when its labors are done in the earth plane, we know where the destination is. But the spirit is a whole different, pardon the pun, kettle of fish, right? That's a different thing altogether. So all the labors and the things that we do in the flesh, that enjoy yourselves. That's what we're here to try to do. And of course, to stay in balance while doing so. But in the end, it is the experience of the flesh that is going to be retained by the soul. That's our proposition. and that will be carried into, which we'll get into down the line, the afterlife. Again, words of wisdom are fantastic to get us to, get those juices in the mind marinating on how we fit into the scheme of things of our life. Once again, we thank you.